The stone that shifted. At the base of a gentle hill, where moss grew thick and soft beneath every step, there stood a circle of ancient stones. No one knew who had placed them there. No one remembered when. They simply were. The villagers passed them often, though rarely with more than a glance. Children played nearby, careful not to step inside the circle, though none could say why. Even the elders, when asked, would only smile faintly and say, "They have always been there." And for a long while, that was enough. Until one morning, one of the stones was gone. Not shattered, not toppled, gone. A shepherd, walking his usual path at dawn, found it further down the hill. It rested among the tall grass, as though it had been gently set there. He stood for a long time, unsure what to make of it. The stone was heavy, far too heavy to be moved without effort. And yet, there were no marks in the earth, no drag, no disturbance, only stillness. Carefully, he placed his hands against it and pushed. It resisted at first, then slowly yielded. With quiet determination, he returned it to the circle, aligning it as best he could with the others. For a moment, everything felt right again. But the next morning, the stone had moved once more. This time a little farther, still facing the same direction. Still untouched by any sign of force. The shepherd frowned, but said nothing. Instead, he followed. Each day, the stone shifted. Not much, just enough. And always toward the forest. The shepherd began rising earlier, meeting the dawn with quiet anticipation. He no longer hurried through his work. Instead, he walked beside the stone's path, as though accompanying it, watching, listening. Something about it felt familiar, not in memory, but in feeling. Then, one morning, he reached the hill and paused. Another stone had moved. It stood a short distance from the circle, resting in the same direction as the first. And though the circle was now broken, something about it did not feel wrong. It felt unfinished. Days turned into weeks. One by one, the stones began to follow. Not all at once, never in haste. Each movement was quiet, deliberate, almost patient. The shepherd no longer tried to return them. Instead, he walked with them. Not beside them exactly, but near enough to feel their presence, as though he were witnessing something that had waited a very long time to begin. The villagers noticed, of course. Some called it strange, others unsettling. A few suggested moving the stones back, restoring what had been disturbed. But the shepherd only shook his head. "They are not leaving," he said quietly. "They are going somewhere." The final stone moved on a morning wrapped in mist. The hill stood empty, bare, as though something had been gently lifted from it. The shepherd followed the path the stones had taken, his steps slow, his breath quiet in the cool air. He did not need to search. He already knew where they would be. At the edge of the forest, where the trees stood tall and the light softened beneath their branches, the stones had gathered, reformed, a perfect circle once more, but not as they had been before. This time, they stood beneath the trees, half in shadow, half in light, as if they had always belonged there. The shepherd stepped closer. The air felt different, still, but not empty. He placed his hand against one of the stones. It was warm, not with heat, but with presence. And in that quiet moment, something shifted within him. Not a thought, not a memory he could name, but a feeling, a recognition. These stones had not wandered. They had not been disturbed. They had not been moved by force or chance. They had simply remembered. And now, standing at the forest's edge, the shepherd understood something he had never been taught. Some things do not remain still because they are rooted. They remain still because they are waiting. And when the time comes, they move, not away from where they were, but toward where they have always belonged.